This is Ahval Online, meeting point of accurate news and free comment on the current affairs of Turkey. Welcome to our podcast series. Hello and welcome to Ahval podcast and video series. This is Hot Pursuit. I'm Yavuz Baydar, and joining me today from Washington D.C, Mr. Aykan Erdemir, Senior Director of Turkey Program with Foundation for Defence of Democracies. Good to see you, Aykan.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about the choreography of Erdogan and his visit, New York visit, and an assessment between his New York visit and his upcoming meeting with Vladimir Putin in Sochi. It can be said that he's somewhere in between now, sort of a limbo, because it ended, as he expressed himself, as a disappointment for Erdogan. He couldn't meet Biden face-to-face, person-to-person, and there were serious discrepancies in the choreography during the visit, some scandalous developments, as we reported. And now a critical point is several issues that Erdogan expressed in an interview with the ABC, for example. He escalated the S-400 issue, stating that there should be a new purchase of a new set of S-400 missile systems from Russia. Second, he demanded that the US pulls out its troops, its presence from Syria, as it did from Afghanistan. The third one was basically both domestic and regional context statement, which is, as he returned to Turkey, he said, there is no Kurdish issue to be dealt with in Turkey. So just in a nutshell, how should we assess all these developments? Is this a sort of a breaking point for Erdogan's day-to-day based foreign policy, especially with the United States and also with Russia?
I think that the first take-home message from the developments of the last week is that for Erdogan, foreign and security policy has come down to solely interpersonal relations. Because if you ask observers in the United States, they would probably see Erdogan's US visit as an embarrassment for the Biden administration, given the extent to which Biden and his senior aides have been appeasing Erdogan on the heels of the US-Turkish understanding concerning Afghanistan. Since June, when Erdogan first offered Biden to assist with the guarding and running of the Kabul International Airport, we have seen a complete silencing of the Biden administration's human rights criticism toward Turkey. In fact, senior US officials who used to refer to Turkey as a so-called ally started referring to Turkey as an invaluable partner and a key NATO ally. And during the last visit, we have seen the Turkish foreign minister meeting his counterpart and Erdogan's spokesperson meeting the national security advisor of the Biden administration. So from that perspective, I think Erdogan could have perceived this as a win. But because everything boils down to that one photo opportunity that he would like to have with Biden, regardless of the content, meaning it could have simply been a photograph of the two presidents with no real substance to it, and Erdogan could have emerged happy. But given he failed to secure that, meeting on the side of the UN General Assembly, we have seen an extremely angry Erdogan, not only accusing the United States of supporting terrorism, but also kind of downplaying Biden, comparing him to the last three presidents, namely, even Bush, Obama, and Trump. Now, that's quite a humiliation coming from Erdogan. And regardless, we haven't seen much pushback from the United States, which shows that the Biden administration, when it comes to Turkey, has cornered itself through its embarrassing withdrawal from Afghanistan, and will probably continue to appease Turkey, refraining from criticism vis-a-vis human rights issues, and also using a new language when it comes to Turkish counterparts. But at the same time, now Erdogan appears to be very confident in on his way to Sochi to meet Russian President Putin. But on that front, I think he might be in a jubilant position that has no substance to it. That is, given Erdogan sees everything through the lens of interpersonal relations, and given that he has secured a one-on-one private meeting with Putin without any diplomats or official note takers, Erdogan already sees this as success. But ultimately, he could be walking into a trap, in the sense that Turkey's purchase of a second batch of the S-400 air defense system would definitely trigger a second round of CAATSA sanctions by Washington. Erdogan's negotiations of natural gas deals with Russia, which will expire this December, could also lead to an equally unfair gas deal for Turkey and a very lucrative one for Russia. Furthermore, we are seeing an increasing Russian pressure in Syria as Russian airstrikes repeatedly hit territories controlled by Turkish forces or Turkey's Syrian Islamist proxies. So when you take a look at Turkish-Russian relations from this lens, actually, this is not at all a meeting that Erdogan should be looking forward to. But simply because he will have a one-on-one meeting with Putin, he seems very eager and pleased to run into a meeting which could prove to be extremely treacherous.
Let's end with this part. I think there is a serious question mark there about Erdogan's demand that US pull out from Syrian territory. And of course, he refers this in the context of what he calls terrorist organizations, which is the Syrian YPD and PYD forces, units. What kind of impact, would this create on the American side? Would it have a counter effect in terms of deepening the dialogue with the Syrian Kurds for the Americans?
Now, I think this comes at a crucial point in US political history when there is a major discussion about the future of US presence abroad. And of all the US deployments around the world, one that has enjoyed the strongest bipartisan support has been the one in Syria. When President Trump attempted to withdraw US forces following a phone call with Erdogan, we have seen the entire US Congress unite to block that move. So I don't think anything has changed. In fact, since the embarrassing Afghanistan withdrawal, I think there is even a stronger commitment to defending vulnerable minorities, genocide survivors in northern Syria. And the other issue is this debate also comes at a crucial time when there is now an ongoing debate about whether Turkey is a partner in goodwill or whether Turkey is part of the problem. And I think Erdogan has once again proven that his Turkey is part of the problem, part of the foreign and security policy problem in the region. Because there are some pro-Erdogan voices within the Washington think tank ecosystem who have been arguing that Turkey is a key partner to push back against Russia and Iran. But Erdogan's latest comments, which basically serve Russia and Iran, push US forces and partners out of northeast Syria, I think is unrefutable evidence who Erdogan's agenda serves in the region. That the Assad regime, Russia, and Iran look forward to Erdogan's dealings with the United States because that peculiar relationship revolves around Erdogan's attempts to push the American forces out. And why is this a crucial step for Moscow and Tehran and Damascus? Because when Iranian militia, Assad forces, Russian mercenaries attempted to test US zones of control, they have suffered repeated defeats, embarrassing defeats. So militarily, around 900 US forces with proper US air support is enough to defeat the Russian-Iranian Assad axis in northeast Syria. But Turkey has a quite unprecedented leverage over the United States, as we have seen with the Erdogan-Trump phone call and the subsequent limited US withdrawal, which expanded Russian and Assad regime control in northeast Syria to a great extent. So Erdogan is now looking for ways to do a second round of such an intervention. But that, I think, will send a very strong signal to both Republicans and Democrats in Washington about where Erdogan's interests lie and whether he can be a partner who shares values and interests with the United States and its NATO allies.
Aykan Erdemir, Syria's Senior Director, Foundation of the Defence for Democracies, FDD, based in Washington. Thank you for these comments.
Thanks for having me.
You can follow Ahval News Online podcast series through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, and Spreaker. All you need to know about Turkey is here, for your ears, mind, and attention. Thank you for listening to our podcast.